will not issue you a special events license because it would be prohibited within this city. You see what I'm saying? Other things is, and I forgot exactly what they call it, but the classes that the vendors have to go through. Responsible vendors classes. I'm encouraging the council to consider putting maybe something like that in the ordinance, which will give you as a vendor or as a seller of alcohol, will give you classes on what the state law is and what's required by them, so that hopefully you will be less likely to violate any code sections, such as underage servers.
And Mike, some of the things you said I haven't thought about, so I appreciate your comments. And some of those being transport en route, especially if you have a large quantity for a wedding, I haven't thought about transporting, to be honest with you. And back in the old days, it was called bootlegging, but now I guess it's not. Now also is the caterer / bartending, because that is going to be a service that's going to be there. And we've thought about the location sites, but we haven't thought about the actual bartending from one place to another, or the caterers would be, I guess, doing that if you decide to go in that service. Restrictions to the parks and rec, we have thought about that. We're still looking at that and how far that should be. And then also the corking fees is what I call that, is if someone wanted to take a bottle of wine to Salsa's, and then you charge them for their bottle of wine to sell their bottle to them. I guess you'd say you just have a corking fee. We don't know. We've talked about that, but there's been no decisions on any of that. Clint made a funny a second ago saying that you're 523 feet from the parks, right? So we take it you're asking for at least that restriction to be 524 feet, right? That's what we're looking at right there. I'm just messing with you, Mike. But thank you for your comments.
Hello, I am Kyle Spears. I live at 291 County Road, 1469. Actually, I don't even live in the city, but I do have a question, though. My question concerns bar and grill type restaurants. Will those establishments be allowed?
Yes. And they'll be restricted,
yeah.
But they'll be restricted by their food. Again, we talked earlier, and I said I don't want a supper club here. That's my personal opinion. I don't know about the other guys, but I wouldn't mind being able for people, if they so choose fit, to go to a restaurant and have a glass of wine with their meal. Yeah. Now, the food will be a larger percentage of that gross receipts for the year than it will be on the alcohol. We have the authority to audit those restaurants to make sure, and they have to keep up with it separate, and we'll have the authority to do that. And I'll explain just a little bit more in a minute. Do you have another question?
Oh, no, I just wrote down just to make sure. Go ahead.
I'd like to bring forth something at this time. Most of these other ordinances that we have seen and read and researched has an alcohol review committee. It's comprised of usually 7 people from the city, that your application process, if you want to sell alcohol, whether it's a convenience store, grocery store, a package store, or anything, you have to fill in this application to the city. This alcohol review committee is the ones that would review that. I think a couple things. The ones that we've looked at in the past, the fire chief is on that committee, the police chief, someone that's a liaison from the city, and then the mayor would have an appointment, and then the city council would have 3 appointments. I'm going to go forth and say also we would like to have someone from the county on this alcohol review committee that is outside the city, because this affects the county residents just as much. And so there needs to be representation there also. But I think that's important for everyone to be represented in this. The reason I want to bring that up is this alcohol review committee, Kyle, from what we've looked at, has the authority to do an audit to see exactly what those percentages of sales are. And if they don't have those percentages, again, give them a fine. If they do it a second time, then we can shut them down automatically, just like that. And so there'll be one warning, and then after that, that's it. Did that address your question, Kyle?
Yes.
Okay. Got another hour if y'all want to keep. Let's let everyone have one more, then we'll come back, okay? Yeah. Now's the time to speak if you would like to, guys. All right, please come forward then if you'd like to.
Got the chair waiting.
Thank you. Thank you. When you're catering, Mike, when you go into those funerals, I mean those weddings, there's going to be teenagers there. Some of those weddings. Who's going to check the ID? You're hauling liquor to underage people. That should be a fine, a great fine, because that's exactly what you'll be doing. And I just keep going. No, I just love our city here, and we have got a special place, and it can be special again if we'll have the ordinances, and if people will just stay home and not be buying where they're selling it. It won't take much of that, but somebody will wish that they'd put it out of the store. You say it sounds like boycott, call it what you will. And I think one thing, if there ain't nobody buying it, they ain't gonna keep it in there.
Is your last name Baloo, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. What was your first name, is that correct? What is it?
Roland.
Roland, thank you, Roland. And you make a good point. I'll be honest with you, I haven't thought about that, but we'll put that in here and we'll address that because that's going to affect everything that Mr. Pitts does and a lot of other establishments in town. Thank you for stating that.
I would like to make another statement. I've already made one before. But when you go out of town to a restaurant and they serve alcohol, Ruby Tuesday, Red Lobsters, or whatever, that is your choice to drink or not. You know, my family and I all went out Saturday night. Our choice was to have sweet tea and water. No, we could have had a beverage, but we didn't. That's our choice, and I don't think people should lay judgment on other people that's going to sell it and have it in their stores and boycott it because you don't agree with it. Cullman is a special place. Like I said, I've been here for 47 years. I love Cullman, but if you'll stop and think, Cullman's really the wettest dry city you'll ever live in.
You know, we're blessed in the fact that I think everyone in this room believes in God, but at the same time, we don't have to judge each individual person. So let's let that be left up to the Jesus Christ, and you go in your own convictions.
I'm Jerry Parker. I live at 899 County Road 473. I am in the city. You asked a question about the servers. My daughter went to the University of Alabama, and she served at Olive Garden food. She couldn't serve alcohol. She was 18, 19 years old. She could be around it. She could be there, but she could not serve the alcohol. So you'll have to have people, I'm sure, 21 years old serve that. One thing I just want to say, I've been around these people. Now, let me tell y'all something, folks. Their plate's full right now. I mean, it's full. I mean, and you need to be thankful every day that you got people that's willing to stand up here and go through all this for y'all. I mean, they're doing it for us. They're not doing it for themselves. I'm sure they just about soon it'd not be wet because they got a problem. And if we don't work with them, and if you got their telephone numbers, don't call them every 2 minutes on something that you've thought of. Write it down and give it to them. I'm sure they'd appreciate it, and I'm sure they want to hear from all of you. But they've got a plate full. I know because I've dealt with some of them. That's about all I want to say. Y'all are doing a great job.
Thanks, Jerry.
I just got a quick question. What about if someone wanted to start say a brewery or something like that in Cullman, like a small one? To make local made beer and sell in local stores?
You gonna handle that, Johnny?
That's a different license.
Under a draft.
And then another draft. Draft sales.
A separate vote.
Yeah, that'd fall under draft beer sales, and that'd fall under a special, another.